Welcome to my debate of the week, and this is on RCW, Real Canadian Wrestling. Now here's the thing. If anybody saw my Global Force Wrestling debate of the week, I said that Global Force Wrestling is kind of biting off of the NWA. And I was sent a G+ message from Andre Corbeil. Now, I don't know if, I think he might be one of my subscribers. If he isn't, it doesn't really matter. The guy's a cool guy. And currently, he is the commissioner of Real Canadian Wrestling. The Remnants, well, not Remnants, but another promotion that has taken all the material from Stampede Wrestling and now is using it on their own promotion. Now, the reason I'm doing this video is that I had to think about what he said about Stampede Wrestling being debunked. And it doesn't exist anymore, because I wonder if it was still around. I thought, what did we gain from Canadian wrestling and Canadian wrestling promotion? And we gained a ton of stuff from Canada. Going back to the very beginning, to Stu Hart. We have to mention Stu. Now, he died a couple of years ago, as you guys know. But what he gave Canada was one of the greatest gifts anyone could give. He leaves England as basically an amateur wrestler in freestyle wrestling, and he goes through amateur wrestling, and eventually he decides he wants to open his own wrestling promotion, which is Stampede Wrestling. I believe the very first wrestling promotion in Canada. I could be wrong. There might have been another one or two of them, but I believe his was the first. And the key of this entire situation is that I think of the people that I knew about that was from Canada, who either came from Stampede Wrestling or that just came from Canada in general that was influenced by Stampede Wrestling. To me, the earliest person I can remember is Bad News Brown. I do remember a person named Bad News Allen, and I don't remember if I ever saw him. I believe I did, and it might have been on AWA maybe once when I was very, very young. But it's hard to remember back then because cable back then in the 70s, well, late 70s, early 80s, they put a lot of stuff on New York's cable access channels, if you can grab it or not. Some of them went on TBS, some of them were on really weird channels, some were on channels you couldn't afford. So I can't really say that I saw Bad News Allen, but I did see Bad News Brown. I always loved them. But then I thought, how many more people were out there that came from Canada? You already know about Lance Storm. We know about Edge, who's now retired. We know about the one who will not be named. But let's be honest. He was the best technical wrestler that has been around in many decades. And if you want to know who I'm talking about, look at my very first videos, ladies and gentlemen. We do not talk about Lord Voldemort. We don't talk about the one who would not be named. But my very first two videos are about him. So if you want to know about him, check my playlist. But he was one of the best. Then we come to the Harts themselves. Stu, who is a very good wrestler. He wrestled for many years. I believe Kevin Hart. I don't remember if that was one of the kids' names. There's so many of them. And we know about the two that were the most prevalent, and that was Owen and Brent. Those two influenced so many people for over the years. You have no idea. The British Bulldog came through Stampede Wrestling at one point. And so many people have been influenced by them. If it was not for Canadian wrestling, many people wouldn't even gone into wrestling or love wrestling as it is. And I believe that we need to thank the people who produced Stampede Wrestling. And now that Real Canadian Wrestling has taken what was left of Stampede Wrestling and is building on top of it, it's so important that we hope they succeed. I'm sure there are a whole bunch of other wrestling promotions in Canada, but what's left of the original shouldn't be forgotten. Why should we forget about Stampede Wrestling? And I gotta say something to Andre Corbeil. Dude, thank you so much for leaving the message on my G+. And the thing, I believe I would have done this video earlier, but the problem is that you don't have a direct connection to RCW on your YouTube page. And only today, when I saw that Roddy Piper had died, when I was checking to see where your website is, did I find it? Because you talked about your tag team champion match between, what was it, the New Bloods versus the Gods of War. That's the only way I knew about the website, because you don't directly have it connected. I understand Wrestle One is a part of what you're dealing with, but I think maybe you should leave a connection on the banner, because I didn't even know where to find it. It was just by happenstance you put that video up, because I couldn't find it. I thought it was called, what was it, River City Wrestling, but I realized it can't be, because Hacksaw Jim Duggan is on there currently as a champ. And I'm sure he's not going in Canada anymore. He doesn't really do a lot of traveling. He stays in the Texas area. So I know this is just from somebody who has almost nothing in subscribers or anything, but could you leave a connection on your YouTube page? Because I could not find it. It was hard finding that thing. But I say this to everyone who's watching this video. Hope for real Canadian wrestling to work. Andre Corbeil is currently the commissioner of it. And I really want to see it succeed. I really want to see it grow and be a dominant wrestling promotion, because who knows who else could we get that will go through Canada, go through all the different places of Mexico, Japan, and then go through the indies that, if WWE ever straightened their asses out, could be one of the best next big things. That's what I feel. What do you guys feel? So I hope you enjoyed this debated week. Please give me a comment below and watch for my Roddy Piper reviews coming out in the next couple of days. Have a good day and have a good night. Peace out!